Now I would like to request Dr. Rashid Gertrude from University of Wolverhampton. Please come and address. Do you need
I need to.
Okay.
Just put that.
First your movie or
No,
the presentation?
No, that's right. What do I do?
Yes, you have to do this. It's not working. Yes.
Right. Assalamu alaikum. Could I just request one thing? And that is, I've been to so many countries, and it is lovely to listen to background music, which is really the technology we're talking about. So I'd appreciate it if you'd actually switch off your phones or put them on silent, because it is not only irritating for me, but I think it's irritating for the person sitting next to you, who perhaps might be concentrating, and you might be, in fact, doing texting or whatever. So that's just my simple request, because I think it's so important. We've come so far away, really basically not to listen to all the various musics that you are, as we speak, listen to. It's just nice and I think very polite for the speaker, for those people who are listening, to do that. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for inviting me, and the University of Wolverhampton, and Rafatji for her company yesterday, and also for the Bashir family for looking after us, and the Wolverhampton crew to be with us, and my very good friend Anita Khwaja, she's a legend. And talking about Khwaja as a legend for Pakistan, I will show you a little video for what Mr. Aslam has done. And as an introduction, apart from being a pediatrician myself, pediatrician for 45 years now nearly, I actually have been involved with this gentleman for the last 20 years. And although I've thoroughly enjoyed what I did over the many, many years as a pediatrician, and I still continue to enjoy my job, and I'm still employed by the National Health Service, I find that now, over the last 10 years, my life has completely changed. And it actually changed, or started to change, almost 20 years ago, when I met Mr. Aslam. But more about him a little bit later on when I show you a little video. So today, what I'm going to talk about, and so when you come to almost the last speaker, 2 or 3 things happen. First of all, people get a bit tired, which I accept, because if I was sitting there, I'd be tired for 2 hours. And the other thing that happens is that most of the things that I want to speak have actually been spoken about. But having said that, I'll make no apology for mentioning one simple thing to start with, and that is the word quality. All we've been talking about all along has been quality. And when you're measuring neonatal death, or you're measuring perinatal death, or you're measuring maternal mortality, all of these things are measure of quality. Measure of quality of how well a country is doing with its health service. How well a country is using its GPD to try and see if it can help its population. Some people like the Netherlands or Switzerland or whatever, they might have a higher GPD. Places like the UK do not have that higher GPD. But perhaps places like Pakistan have got lower GPD. But that does not mean that we have not got common sense. And what Anne was talking about was simple measures, and I accept and I respect the technology that we're talking about. Technology of phones is fantastic. That is something that we have actually identified that we'll be able to use. But the technology that I've been told to perhaps provide, I'm not going to provide. Because things like, topocardiographs and ultrasound machines, what you need is the computer that's there and the knowledge that you have accumulated over the years. And that knowledge is not stationary knowledge. The education does not stop today. Even today, when I was young, I told my mother, education is all about curiosity. And I told my mother, why is the sky blue? You can ask yourselves, why is the sky blue? Do you have an answer? Why does a bird fly? This is curiosity. That's what makes us better, because we try and find answers for that. Okay? So, education does not stop when you're educated. 2 weeks ago, I went on a full week to educate myself, because we have what we call updating. And even when we train people here, they need to continue training themselves. no doctor is a good doctor, no professional is a good professional, no midwife is a good midwife who does not continue with professional education. If you tell me you've been on a midwife course 3-4 years ago, to me is no good. You have to be up to date. You have to be doing it. You have to be hands-on. You've got to continue to use common sense. Okay, those are the sort of issues that are important. Now, in terms of, we've been talking about sort of deliveries and babies, and I really am probably the only person here who is a baby's advocate. We've talked about mother passion, obviously, is the baby. But the mother has to be healthy to be able to produce that baby. So we're talking about not only prenatal, but natal and also postnatal care. We ourselves are lucky. And you won't even know what I'm on about. Do you know why we are lucky? Why I'm lucky? Because I was delivered by a dye. Lots of you were delivered. And you're lucky because you survived. Lots of mothers and lots of babies do not survive. They do not survive because perhaps the dyes are left to do too much. Or indeed, there has been complication for the mother, such as ruptured uterus, obstructed labor, vaginal fistulas. Do you know these things? Vaginal fistulas. You know, your life as a woman is gone. A lot of them go and commit suicide. What is my job? My job is actually to recognize these things, right? And to do something about it. And I actually promised that I will actually train one surgeon in Gujarat to go down to Karachi to go and be trained. And I'll pay for her to do it, right? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is so that when she comes back, the women can then go there. But then what I need to do is to get the women to her. It's no good training her. So I have to put an infrastructure somewhere so that women have actually got the information out there. We have already got a model in Gujarat with the help of Dr. Bashir. And that model is the breast model of the ground, because there's one lady in the UK very, very passionate about it because her mother had died of breast cancer in Pakistan. So I said, yeah, okay, let's just start it. Yeah? So I sent Mrs. Bhatti and I sent a couple of nurses with her, nurses who are breast cancer nurses. We set up a service of recognition of the breast disease in mothers, how to examine mothers. We bought them some mannequins. Do you know, putting a mannequin there in front of women and men, women would run away. But you know, slowly and surely we are trying to change the culture, because what we want to do is we want to help people. Okay? Now, I won't go through my slides in detail, but I will do in a minute. But the other thing, what have we learned and how have we got here? We've got here finally today, which is a breakthrough. I've been coming to this country for the last 5 or 6 years. Now, during those 5 or 6 years, I have learned a lot. But before this period, many years ago, perhaps about 15, 16 years ago, somebody from somewhere brought a little piece of paper which says, to Mr. Aslam, said that there are some people doing some cleft operations in Pakistan. And would you be interested? Now, I was working in Africa doing a lot of charity work. He was working in Pakistan. And he had formed an organization called Midland International Aid Trust. Midland International Aid Trust. So he said to me, what do you think? I said, yeah, I think it's worth just looking at it and seeing. So we started supporting them, £150 per operation. Okay? So we started supporting them. Lots of people came to know us about this. I came over to visit. I sent people here first to come and find out what's going on. I sent a midwife. Okay? I sent a newborn specialist to come over here and to talk to and teach the midwives and healthcare attendants what to do during delivery, after delivery. Fantastic. They thought it was all fantastic. We identified a few things. One of the things we identified was that there was a perception, and you may not agree with me, and the perception was that we had mothers who really thought that pregnancy was a disease. Okay? Pregnancy is a natural process. And you know, if looked after well, you know, people in Africa, the girls because I worked in Africa as well, they deliver in the bushes, but babies are sometimes fine. but it is dangerous. It is a natural process, but which we as professionals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually given us this sunnah. It is a sunnah to be able to look after people. It is a special gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. It is a special gift that we actually just do not use. If we use it, not only for ourselves, we can actually change humanity. If we work singly, perhaps we can try. But if we work jointly, we can make a big difference. And you know, the team that I've built up in the UK that comes here regularly is a team that changes lives. We do not talk, we actually do action. If you come to the Cleft Centre, you will see mothers who come with severe deformities in the children and their faces are completely changed. You come to some of the bits that we've done in terms of the maternity care, that's what we're talking about here, right? There's improved hygiene. We've actually got sinks where people can wash their hands. So, you know, you just need simple things. You just need something to listen to the babies, listen to the mother's, tummy to see if the baby is actually still ticking. You need to ask the mother, is your baby still kicking? You don't have to do all this high-powered stuff. You don't need it. What's more, I've been there. You send stuff, high-powered stuff, to a lot of people around the world. If it's shall we say, digital or something, it breaks in transit. You can't even use it. More importantly, it's no good, particularly in private practice. You don't have to say, well, I've got a topocardiogram. I've been to places where they've got ECG machines in Africa, doctors, and who are showing me the ECG the other way around. They can't even read it. But the patient says, it's the cardiogram kar liya, sab theek thaak hai. He doesn't even know, he knows how to press the button, but he doesn't know how to interpret it. I think interpretation is there. The fetal heart, recognition of when the baby is actually in trouble. Severe tachycardia, irregular or whatever, right? Bradycardia, whatever. This is recognition that we can do just as simple human beings. A Dai can do it if she was trained properly. And one of my things is to improve practice with people who are professionals and actually stop bad practice. I don't mind Dais at all, as long as they came here, we spoke to them. If they're passionate, this is their livelihood, I'm happy to help them. I'm happy to help improve their future, because that's what their livelihood is. So with that, I'll just go through a couple of the slides, because there may be some repetition of what we've already had. Okay, so in all the bits that we've mentioned, I've just mentioned that we came to the cleft. Now, the reason why I actually got really passionate about the babies and the mothers in this country is that I met mothers who had had vaginal fistulas. I met babies, as Anne said, who had cerebral palsy. I have met babies and mothers where the diagnosis has been wrong, purely and simply because the people are just trained to that level, and it's not their fault. I think the recognition of illness, the interpretation of illness, how do you take a history adequately? How do you examine a patient adequately? That's important. Now, the other thing that actually struck me, and I can tell you this, and I make no apologies for this, and I do role play. That's one of the ways I actually teach. And if anybody's interested, we'll be teaching tomorrow. I don't know how we will teach tomorrow. There's a workshop on neonatal resuscitation. But my teachings can start for an hour, they could go on for 4 hours. But in a role play situation, the doctor-patient relationship, and we've talked about empathy, we've talked about holding hands. Do you know something in real life in this country? I've not seen it. Yeah? I've not seen it to the extent that I would like to see it. You know, the woman-to-woman contact that we are talking about is what I want. In the UK, I'm reasonably okay holding the hand of a woman that I don't know. Reasonably okay, but I have to be careful. Here, I wouldn't dare do it. So it's got to be a woman-to-woman contact. It'll never happen, me holding a hand to say, Acha Baba, aapki bacha thoda bit bimar hai, lekin hum koshish kar rahe hain, that sort of thing, you know? Because that's the empathy. The empathy comes from, either naturally it comes, or you have to learn to use the right words. You see, in England, for example, okay, I do not ask them to use the D word. Even if the child's going to die, I say, okay, tell the mother the bad news. They say, well, I think, your baby is actually going to die. Or alternately, asking in another way, to say, is my baby going to die, doctor? That's what people often ask. Meri baby mar jane wali hai? The answer is probably yes. Yeah? But the way I would look at it, for example, is to say, I think we've reached a situation where we are doing our best. But if it's somebody you can work with, if it's a Muslim patient or somebody you know what their faith is, then you can bring that faith in a little bit and say, at the end of the day, well, Allah ke haath mein. Isn't it so much easier to say, jo kuch hoga, wo Allah ke haath mein hoga. But ek cheez zarurat hai, aap yaad rakhna, कि मैं मेरी कोशिश करूँगा जो मेरे जो हाथ में है, जो मेरे इल्म है, वो मैं ज़रूर कोशिश करूँगा. फिर जो वो कोशिश भी नहीं. So once you've told them that you are going to do your best, you can't do any better than that. You see? And I promised Ijaz that these babies and children that are dying, I am going to do my best to get somebody here to improve that situation. And what I can do is I can show people how to resuscitate babies, right? And you may or may not agree. I might not look that old, but I'm 70 years old, and my passion for wanting to go to school is still the same as I was when I was 5 years old, when I wanted to become a doctor. People still ask me, Dr. Saab, आप 70 years तो nearly हो गए हैं, hospital में क्या कर रहे हैं आप? तो मैंने कहा, बाबा देखो, मैं जब 5 साल का था, that's when I wanted to be a doctor. Why the hell do I want to give up being medicine? मैंने अल्लाह से दुआ की थी, I will be a doctor. I want to try and help people. The people who become doctors, they go through me. Okay? You ask them, why do you want to become a doctor? They go, we want to save humanity. I want to make people feel better. I want to help. At the end of it, I work with them. Because when they're qualifying, वो जो bleep होता है ना, वापस 4:30 बजे तो वो switch off कर देते हैं, तैयारी हो जाती है, घर जाएगी. And I tell them, सारा कुछ पेशेंट को देख लेंगे, थोड़ा कुछ जाने के. मम्मी के पास जाना है, या मेरी बेबी देखनी है, या फिर मेरी बीबी वो तो पका लिया है खाना. You get all these sort of things. These are the people who want to save lives. They are not passionate about what they do. So to do something like what you guys are doing, you've got to be passionate. You can talk and say, you should be passionate with this. That's no good to me. You have got to show passion, you've got to actually practice passion, you've got to live passion in what you do. That's why we've got these people here. Now, about sort of something like 6 months ago, up to 6 months ago, which is last 5 years, I've been trying to do this. I came over to this university and I met this Allah ka admi, aapka VC. First look at him, first meeting with him, pehli mulaqat, I thought I can work with this guy. He came over there, he was our guest, just for about an hour or two. But he will, I think, change lives for millions. He might be retiring in February, but if we do what we have set out to do and leave a legacy in this country, you will note that even well after we are dead, those people and those babies will be even luckier than you all are and I am, that they were not delivered by anybody that wasn't actually qualified enough. So here we are in 2016. Now I won't go through all this, but the main thing I want to tell you is that let's talk about the first 24 hours. That's where I want to concentrate on, the first 24 hours. Better still, I want to actually concentrate on the first 5 minutes. Babies that are something like 2 million babies die in the first 24 hours. Most of them die soon after birth. Yeah? Most of them die soon after birth because there are simple things that we could do that we didn't do. And I'll mention just 1 or 2 of them, and I'll perhaps allude to them a lot more when I talk to you about them tomorrow. Now, when these babies die, the 2 million of them, some mothers die with them, purely and simply because of poor care that we have given. Okay. And something, it's not a question of a criticism of training. I could be easily giving this lecture in the UK, okay? Because each department, each university has got its own level of training. And I'm not saying one university is better than the other, right? But what I am saying is that any country, anybody, any single person, right, cannot say, I know everything. They need to educate themselves, they need to upgrade their teaching, which is what I've said again. And what we have come here to do is not so much to impose. We have come here to learn, to say what is it that you need and how can you address it. We've already identified one or two things. We've identified about the vaginal pads after delivery. They may cost only 200 rupees, but for that mother, 200 rupees might be too much. So what can we do as simple human beings? Yeah, we can perhaps, as non-government organizations, think about it and say, yeah, could we perhaps, through zakat or whatever, we are so lucky, and I'm sure, I respect every religion, but being a Muslim myself, we've got this zakat. Everybody has to give zakat. I've got plenty of zakat that people give me. My only problem is I have to give it in zakat ke qabil. Jo zakat ke qabil hote hain na, unko hi zakat milti hai. That's my problem. I've got plenty of it, but I have to give it to the right people. And it may be that sort of money that I've got, I might give it as zakat to those people who need this. So we can put simple things in to get things better. Technology is fine. But when I sent all these people to look at what services there are, cutting off the cord, unhygienic. Looking after the mum, unhygienic. We've looked at things like, for example, washing of hands. People were walking into theatre, right, with normal clothes and normal shoes. That is not acceptable. That is common sense, and that should not happen. So, what is it that we can actually help? Now, somebody has alluded it already, that we can, in fact, decrease, and everything is preventable. Everything is preventable. But let's do something about it, right? Let us identify what's needed, which, you could have about millennium goals or millennium goals. It is, to me, common sense. Nothing, well, some bits have improved, okay? But there are lots of other issues in the millennium goal we have not been able to do. The reason being, it's the will of the government, it's the will of the people, and it's the training of those who are actually delivering this. We can do something about prematurity. How? We look after mothers better. We look at antenatal care better, which is what Marcia had very eloquently said. Asphyxia, we should know how to deliver babies, when to deliver them, when the baby is in trouble. You don't need high-powered technology. Infections, I've already alluded to that, looking after the baby, giving the baby nutrition, making sure that the mother is actually in an optimal health before she gets pregnant even. We've actually got a beautiful village clinic, which I'm going to go on Thursday, in Suklan, in Gujarat. It wasn't there. We've set it up, for two people, young, pregnant, and very elderly. To the elderly, we give iron and vitamin. They break their bones. Ye dukta hai, wo dukta hai, aise hota hai, takat hi nahi hai. We can do something. Iron doesn't cost very much, so we give them iron, we give them vitamin D. What about the babies? What about the mothers that are going to get pregnant? We give them folic acid. I don't know whether folic acid decreases cleft palate or not. There's no evidence. But there is evidence that folic acid decreases neural tube defects. So at least we've given them something which is cheapish, and we give them some vitamins. So at least when they get pregnant, we've actually started them off on a good journey. But I want the journey to finish in happiness, not in a disaster. We talked about diarrheas. I was working with the World Health Organization people, and they don't even want to know. I went and saw the Glaxo guy, somebody Witty, I think his name is, and he didn't want to know. He said, you NGO should work on your own. Giving people anti-diarrheals that kill people around the world, I'm talking about vaccination with Rotarix. If we get it through the WHO, it's cheaper for me. If I get it on my own, it's damn expensive, 3 times as expensive. So we can try and do things. Birth injuries. We were told a couple of days ago that when the baby's head is showing, it's crowning, people are told, "Jaldi se push kar lo." Huh? That's the last thing you want to do. I've done a lot of obstetrics in Africa, not only a pediatrician, I've also got a degree in obstetrics. So I know what to do with babies. I've done cesarean sections, I know what I'm talking about. Controlled delivery. They will have a bleed. They'll run into trouble. So those are the small issues that we need to look at. And we can do something about the three things that I'm talking about. Okay, loads of barriers in any country. Okay, we've been through this: cost, accessibility, ignorance. Research tells us there are 25% of mothers are ignorant. They don't even know that there is a nearby place where you could go. The problem I have got, right, and I'll be really, really honest, and I'll be really horrible here, we've got some doctors who think that they are above God in this country. And the way to us they're lovely, but I've seen them treat their staff when I'm not looking, and if I was there as a junior or whatever, I would not take that sort of rubbish from anybody, because we're all equal, we are human beings, and we should be treated for what we are. We may be juniors, but I think we should give respect to we actually command respect as seniors, so I think we should give respect. You give respect, you get it back. Okay, so what can be done? Well, I think one of the most important things we need to look at is what's happening out there in the villages. Because that's, it's okay sitting in Lahore and, we're delivering all our babies in this hospital, blah, 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 50, 60, 80% of them. A lot of them are born outside, they die outside. We don't even have any measurement of what happened there, how many died. Some are recorded, some are not recorded, some are hidden pregnancies. We have no record of what's going on. So not only do we need to discourage harmful behavior, but we need to empower the families. You see, to say you empower the mother does not and will not work in this country. I think we need to empower the family to understand that this is what they need to do. We need to improve registration. We need to improve that gap between the registration of the mother, registration of the baby, and the two bits are actually kept together so that there's information for professionals to be able to act on. The other thing we can do, I've already mentioned, and my own passion is basically looking after a newborn baby and making sure the baby breathes. Because that breathing of the baby, the first breath of the baby, when that baby's lungs are completely full of fluid, the baby is swimming around in cold water because it's still cold for the baby, although it's at room temperature. Now I was talking to somebody yesterday. You come out of the bath, even in a warm country, be it Dubai or be it here. You come out of the sea, or you come out of, what do you want first thing? Thunder. You want to actually get a bath towel. The baby is born cold. The baby is covered with wet fluid. So, as soon as the baby is born, what you want to do, right, is to wipe the baby. Simple things, does not need technology, it needs a bit of brains, okay? Wipe the baby, acha? And don't keep the baby in that wet cloth. Get rid of it and put another warm cloth on the baby. Because we know for sure, and if you learn one thing today from me, and that is, if the baby's temperature drops by 1 degree, you lose 25% of babies. And that's a treatable cause, that's an avoidable cause. Forget about this in Millennium Love. Forget about all the other bits that we've talked about. Just listen to one thing. Keep the baby warm, and a lot of them will survive. Okay? And this technology business, that I tell you, I get really annoyed and irritated, as you obviously can gauge. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next day or so when I'm here is I'm going to talk to people tomorrow about resuscitation principles. And again, you can see from the last 2 lines that endotracheal intubation does not come into my talk. Medications do not come into my talk. I've been to 2 hospitals. And one of the couple of things that who are delivering me say, oh, drugs, the drug thing. First of all, they didn't know the dosage of the drugs, 1. Secondly, they did not know, right, which dose to use when. Nothing wrong with that person. It's just the education has not been adequate. And I think what we should do is educate. And if we continue to do that, the system is perfect. It's just that we are not using the system appropriately and adequately. So if you see me talk about newborn babies, I call drugs BADs. B-A-D. B is bicarbonate, A is adrenaline, D is dextrose. Because by the time you reach BAD, chances are you've actually lost the baby and is 20 minutes down the line, which means baby is in secondary apnea. So that is bad news. So on that score, I would actually just introduce again my colleagues, because we are here basically to train and teach. I'm a pediatrician. Anybody who want to ask me any questions before, during, after, or tomorrow, we are here. We can discuss with you what you like, what you want for future. You can tell us what you think, because we've just come to learn what you think you need, what skills you need. But we are training people at the moment in Gujarat, and we've learned a lot of simple issues that we can put right. I've got with me expert people. Masha is actually, I would say, almost the world's expert, because she is in fact one of the best midwives in the country. She teaches people, she examines people, and she appoints top people in the country. Okay? Now, my other colleague, Professor Anne Hollizet, she is the Associate Dean, University of Wolverhampton. She's been setting up programs, curriculum, around the world. Okay, Thailand, Burma. So she knows what she's talking about. So when she says she knows how to set up a curriculum, okay, she will get all our help to do that. Marcia knows how to deliver. We will come again, but we need the will from you to continue learning. We don't want to sort of teach you and go, and people say, theek ho gaya, dobara aayenge to theek ho jayega. We want to train trainers. Yeah, we want to leave a legacy so that we will be checking with those trainers to say, what have you done? What records have you kept? Who have you educated? Right? And in the end, the proof of the pudding is, will we actually make a difference? Because 5 years down the line, if we have not made a difference and the practice is still the same, we've not wasted enough time. One thing we have done is we've done our best. Thank you very much.